Good day. This is a very difficult one. Where are we? Over the last whiles, we have built up an idea of what is going on within the world and America, and in general and in particular, and how they connect from Ukraine through to the civil rights movements to the far right movements throughout the globe. We now sit at a very such a horrifyingly, never strong enough word, but at a moment, an inflection point, probably, in history. And yeah, it's going to be a very tough one to. It's going to be yeah, it's going to be crazy. So, anyways, before I continue on, right now this is the way America is supposed to look like: co-equal branches of government. We have the legislative, the executive, and judicial. On top of the laws built upon the Constitution, which is built upon we the people. So we the people are the base of the rule of law. And we elect people to create laws that we want, and then people to execute the laws that we created. And then they fight back and forth on how much they're going to create new laws or execute new laws. But there was always a force within America that wanted something different. They wanted a monarchy. They still wanted a monarchy. But usually they themselves would be on top. That's how it always seems to work. It always devolves into more infighting and backfighting and backbiting. It's quite insidious, actually. And so they, over the last, always have always been trying to turn it into a religious theocracy with a monarch as the executive head of state, and then the legislative branch beneath the monarch and such. And then this would be the prime minister. But we also showed how, as though, even though we believe and think of our system of government being in this particular shape, it is not. And we know how Mitch McConnell used the judiciary for pressure on the laws and then created unjust laws to put pressure on the Constitution. To the point, by using the judiciary as using Roe versus Wade to go after the 14th Amendment, which is I'm usually bellowing about states' rights when it's really the state's right to choose how to be horrible to its citizens. And 14th Amendment said that all citizens, even within the states, have to abide by a republican form of government. That the people get to choose who will govern them. So the assault now has been on election officials, local elections, school boards, anything to keep this myth of I hate to say the word white supremacy, but white nationalism, and to turn America into a theocracy. White nationalism is just or is Christian white nationalism, or shortened to just Christian nationalism, is pretty much just fascism with a theocratic cloak. This is what the South was going to devolve into if it was not for the Civil War. But every time black African Americans or black Americans make progress, they try to claw that progress back. And this is where we are at this present time, because, as in review, Trump sent Mike Pence to overthrow the counting of the votes certification, when Pence's only duty is to go, yep, these are the votes, and then report that back to the executive, and the executive says, okay, I guess I lost. But Trump couldn't do that. He wanted Pence to overthrow. Then, when he couldn't get Pence to overthrow the government, Pence said, no, I'm good, dude. Not doing that. He then sent his agents as the mob at his January 6th riot, insurrection, and stepped foot on the House, on the Capitol floors, which only the vice president can do. Step, be the agent of the president on the Capitol. So by doing it and by precedent of action, Trump has made himself, or at least in his mind, king of the United States of America. This creates all kind of conundrums for the fact that, in many ways, because of the precedent, Congress has to reassert itself through the January 6 committees and removal of those who were shown to have helped in Congress, in both the Senate and the House, by not voting to impeach, especially after they said they knew that it was Trump's agents who breached the Capitol. And reasserting its place, Congress reasserting its place as a co-equal branch of government. So first, impeach and remove the congresspersons who were participating in the insurrection against the Constitution and the United States. First, by helping, and then by not upholding their constitutional oath to defend the Constitution from all enemies, foreign and domestic. Upon that removal of these persons, passing voting rights so that there is a fair floor, John, to voting throughout the United States. Therefore, rolling back a lot of these gerrymanderings and abhorrent, say abhorrent, but just these horrible voter suppression laws that are going on throughout the country. Instead of coming up with new ideas, better ideas on how to use the market as well as work with the government sector, greed has just destroyed the thing that is our government, and then got us to get so many people to not believe in the same government that belongs to them, which is the government is just your neighbors. It's the people who are willing to uphold these laws, so we live a really cool life. The deep state are the people who hold the laws, and so it's quite hilarious. They want law and order as long as that law and order can be used as a weapon against some other. But if they have to uphold those same laws, they wish for that order to not be there and to fizzle and go away. Yeah, I'm tired. I'm a little bit exhausted. Just to think about what has to be done is just a bit. It's a bit even over me for overwhelming, because to think like, and the only way that this could happen is there needs to be people power to demand that it happen, demand that Congress reassert itself and return our Constitution back to we the people. Yeah, this is a bit crazy. Um, so we know about freedom with tyranny, rights without responsibility, slavery, and freedom. But, this is about how do we regain control of our country? How does the average person, how do we as the people regain, believe in America again? How do we regain control of it so it works for all of us, not just a few who think that they own it? This has been a long, hard slog, folks. I wrote this. This is, it's been so difficult sometimes. And I look at it and I go, well, the difficulty was in maintaining belief and faith. This is the right thing to do at the right time to do it for the right reasons. America has been on this path for a long time, for, from our beginnings. And at this moment, Jesus, just reading through all of this, why don't we have pretty nice things? Because the uber rich are, their greed is overstationed, overstepped, overshadowed their ability to think. Only in more fear and more greed, for this is that is what they live in fear and feed off of. So we're at right now. Right now we're at the belief, besides me being stoned, is supposedly I was supposed to have been paid by the Democratic Party, but apparently I'm being sorry folks. This has been a difficult freaking day. This is I should some always be like everything's always good, but sometimes it's just builds and yo holy smokes. Wow. Um, I practiced this in my head for so many times. I figured it'd be so much easier, and here I am, and it's just holy crap. There are moments in history that are very rarely in history do you can say at a moment that this moment in history will project the world into two different directions depending on what the decisions we make within the next what, 4 days, 5 days most. So I was sitting there thinking about a few things. And I just, this is the most difficult thing I had of all the things I need to do, but the thing that I need to do most. It was a lot easier in my head for some reason. Usually it's the exact opposite. Holy crap, this is so hard. Everything else has just been so easy. It just comes, I shouldn't say easy, but easier than this. What I have to tell an individual to do, I have to ask of them, but well. So apparently, Prince Charles has sided with the persons who wish to remove him and destroy his crown, destroy the crown as we know it, and as we don't know it. Also, it appears that he wishes to become a tyrant. King Charles III, tyrant of Great Britain. The thing about tyrants is people usually believe it is a pointing at the other persons, but the reality is tyrants usually point backwards at the same people that who would think that would never attack are actually the first persons of their attack. All of these years waiting and sitting waiting for that old Betty to die, well, you can imagine, made even worse by the fact is Camilla filling bitters into your ears, into his ears. King Charles III seems not to want to do his duty to the crown and to Great Britain and the Commonwealth, which is to increase its wealth and enhance its wealth, while at the same time maintaining power of the king of the crown. By not understanding and siding with his buddies, he's given them the power over him and power over the crown. So that way they can maneuver and manipulate the crown, therefore, they can then think they can manipulate the Constitution. Lady, Lady, I can't say even call her a lady, Lady Camilla, but it still is the. Right now, there are those with the whispers that are showing that, and they're seeing King Charles turn into the tyrant. See, Queen Elizabeth II, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II left us clues and markers to understand and to know what to do. See, once she realized what was going on, what happened, she made a few maneuvers, subtle ones, but there for the right persons to understand and to use. Prince Andrew. Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II removed your titles for your dalliances with Jeffrey Epstein. And quite honestly, let's be real, it wasn't so much the dalliances, it was the how it consumed you. How they, instead of just maybe a trust in youth, it became everything of you until you were no longer truly a man. Princess Anne, you understand because of being attacked, of feeling vulnerable to the outside world for not doing nothing more than just trying to be yourself. And yet somebody would want to harm you for just being you. And understanding that must have changed you deeply. But the one thing that it must hurt is to watch your brothers never seem to grow. Not being the men that you remembered them to be as a little girl. And wondering what happened to them. Now you know. Prince Harry. This must be absolutely the most painful and horrifying thing. To know the object of rage is just sitting at your fingertips and you cannot touch it. You cannot extinguish it. You cannot tear it to shreds. So she thinks. There in front of you sits the person that caused the greatest harm, the greatest hurt, the greatest pain of your life. With the smirk of the faint thought that she now rules over you. And then to know that is the same person who then attacked the woman you had sworn to protect as your wife. But even more so is to watch what she has done to your father as she destroys the honor that you thought he was and the merit that you thought he should be. To watch him become petty and small, rageful and plain. Everyone sees it. Plain as day now. There's no hiding. Your father is given an opportunity to strengthen the family, the Commonwealth, and England, and he chose to not do his duty. But instead, try to cut free of that same duty to tell others to do his duty for him. History called, and he failed miserably. Prince Harry, I, as Ebaton Kirkpatrick Jackson, vouch for you that Queen Camilla is a threat to the crown. Which means she is a threat to NATO and the Constitution of the United States of America. Upon the command of Prince William, Prince of Wales, we of the Commonwealth, the United States, and NATO, you're cleared hot. We will not interfere. Lady Camilla, as we have stated, you will be the queen, but you would never be the crown. By making you the queen, we could not reach you unless you became a threat to the crown. By whispering in Charles's ear as he turns himself into a tyrant, and then him not following through on a promise that the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth II, had made on her deathbed does not show the strength and the courage of a man who knows he can fill the shoes of his predecessor, but the mettle of a coward who must whimper at such an honor. Prince Harry has a trillion reasons, and a bitch ain't one, to rip your head off. And the only thing stopping him Prince William in your hand is the command, but only for a short moment in time. For one, your grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, is finally laid to her final rest. The fates set in. What world do you wish to leave for, what is it, your youngest? Louis. I think I should know this, but it's, as I said, it's not my thing. I don't like, personally, in a way, it's not so much that as it feels almost intrusive without, even though I'm intrusive, I guess. But anyways, what do you want your son to, what world do you want him to inherit? For you see, if you do not know who's funding the overthrow of the crown and the Constitution, this is a game of power, Prince William. It's not a game of let's be friends, let's play nice. It's a game of power. Power is ruthless and cold, calculating and demanding. Your job as king is to make sure that you have as much power as necessary to stay alive and to help your people. It's a twin act because the same people that you're trying to help also might want to be killing you as well. It is the game that goes on for generations after generations. Power has duty, rights, and with responsibilities. All these rights that the freedom of power gives also has responsibilities. Those who do not wish to maintain those responsibilities, we therefore know them as tyrants. And your father, apparently, as King Charles III believes himself to be a tyrant, as by how he fired his staff. The little details says this speaks to the rate. The Guardian had a great picture that showed finally caught Camilla on camera being Camilla. And Charles was looking over his shoulder, but in the wrong direction. Prince William, you must make a decision. And you have until tomorrow, actually. But you won't. The decision will be made for you, actually, by your father, Prince Charles, King Charles III. Will he do his duty and find out who is trying to overthrow the crown and the American our Constitution, the United States Constitution, by keeping his word to Queen Elizabeth II to create a fund to invest in both the Commonwealth so that it thrives. Or be chummy with those same people who wish to destroy him and the House of Windsor. Your duty is to the crown. And if that moment comes that you have to do something absolutely horrifying, you can hate me. I will accept your hate. But remember this. It is that your father put Camilla over you, your children, your brother, his sister, his brother. He put her and her destructive habits over all of you. And then he put her over Great Britain and the Commonwealth and the crown itself. And it was his decision that forced you to make your decision. But in case you have a problem, we will defend the Constitution against all enemies, both foreign and domestic. The moment Queen Elizabeth returns to her last resting place, to be by the side of her husband, her prince, your grandfather. Your fate is still now open. What kind of world do you wish to live for your children? have to do is give the word. And your brother will carry it through. And if you cannot, we will. We be NATO in the United States. Prince Charles, or King Charles III, are you going to put your sons into that position of having to remove you before you even fully ascend? And if you arrogantly believe that they will not do their duty, they will. Are you going to put Camilla over your sons and your future and your crown? The choice is yours now, King Charles. It is assumed, actually, you will hurt your children. It is assumed that she's had such a hold on you for so many years. You don't. You're not there. She is so infantile to you that you want to be something when you already were. So there's something you think you must be now is a toddler. As an adult, known simply as a tyrant. The king has a duty to God, his family, his country, to his commonwealth. And you sold out your duty to the same ones who would remove you from your crown. Now, your whole thing is so that I do not reach London, so that the world can gaslight me and say that I'm just a crazy old person, a crazy man speaking into a microphone. I'm good with that. For if you don't take this offer, if you do not fulfill your mother's dying wish, you will weaken Great Britain and the Commonwealth and do irreparable harm to a majority of the world's population. And I know you do not care about that, but they damn sure do about themselves. Or you can take the other route and enrich your family, yourself, your country, and the Commonwealth, and find out who wants to kill you as a bonus. But you don't have any other choice. Your behavior is becoming a threat to the crown, and it has been alarming to the entire family. And it is the view by tradition. That is why it is so many days of mourning, so everyone can figure out where they're going to sit at the table, or more precisely, who's going to be allowed to sit at the table. Right now, Prince Harry is so full of rage, all Prince William has to do is even obliquely look Camilla's way, and he'll remove her from her, well, you get the picture. But then if you still are intransigent, the family is firmly behind the brothers, as is the crown. We don't have to do this in a uncivilized manner, but we can keep you from ascending. Fully ascending. Your reign will be short and painful. As we will try to keep the damage to a minimum. And if you think I've overstepped, I would suggest you have a conversation with your two sons, your sister, and your brother. It's supposed to be a reminder to you of your duty and what happens when you forget about it. When you think you are above your duty. Now, I need private transport to London, picking up Don Rose and Bill Thompson with his mother, and also need my sister and her husband to meet us in New York. Now I know, I pretty much assumed none of this will happen. I have to make that assumption. But I will tell you this, there will be no more Great Britain if you continue down the path you are going. So I need a private flight and two London rooms for all of these persons for my entourage in central London. A a credit card, a Mastercard, a Visa, and an American Express in my name, with a very unreasonable balance credit limit. During the time while in London, we will discuss and get the paperwork completed to begin this venture. We're not going to play back and forth for 6 months. It's going to be fairly simple. The House of Windsor will become one of the most wealthiest family in the world. And we'll use that wealth to solve, or at least invest in solving the world's problems and helping the world, humanity, reach its greatest height. And by value of that is, keeping up with the Joneses. That means America has to start outputting a little bit more, and we're going to do it the American way. We're not doing sweatshops, so we have to educate our populace. You have to make them stronger, create more outputs with less inputs to be more efficient, which means an educated populace, which the oligarchs are terrified of. Which is exactly why we should continue forward. By not, by working with the same oligarchs that Putin and the Chinese paid off, you are undermining both NATO and the United States Constitution, but more importantly, the crown of Great Britain, which means you are not doing your duty. And the brothers and the family have every right to remove you. So you will get me my passports, my flights, the persons, my entourage, because if Prince William does not have the courage to do what he must do. Because if he does not see that he has the power and will always have power over you and Camilla. It will take tremendous courage, but we have his back. We, the people of the world, have his back. We have Prince Harry's back. We have Princess Anne's back, Prince Andrew's back. We will be backing them because we see where you are going, and it only heads to ruin. Prince Harry, you're cleared hot upon the command of Prince William. not interfere. For Lady Camilla, or Her Majesty Camilla, His Royal and His Majesty King Charles III. Are a threat to both the Constitution of the United States of America, NATO and our allies, and the Crown of Great Britain and the Commonwealth. By not in upholding and strengthening the position of the Crown due to their own personal discomforts of bigotry and racism, are not doing their duty. And since it is before the time that Queen Elizabeth II has been placed to her last resting, they should be removed. Slava Ukraine. Glory to democracy. And may the flag forever wave over the land of the free and the home of the brave.